and gentlemen, from the home of Red Sox Nation, Boston, Massachusetts, this is Contender Season 3 finale. First up, 6 rounds middleweight boxing action. Your judges are Leo Gersto, Roland Milton, and Paul Driscoll. Your referee, Dick Flaherty. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. He weighed in at 163 pounds, wearing white trunks. His record, 14 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, and 2 wins coming by way of knockout. From Portland, Oregon, David Banks! Across the ring, his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, weighed in at 163 pounds. Wearing white, green, and gold, his record, 23 wins, 6 losses, 2 draws, and 13 wins coming by way of knockout. He hails from St. Joseph, Missouri, Donny McCrary!
Okay, gentlemen, we're going to go 6 rounds. I expect a good, clean, professional fight. Listen to me when I speak to you. Obey my commands at all times. Okay, touch them up, guys, and good luck.
In a contender class that includes a world title challenger and a top prospect, Donny, by far the most blue collar. In fact, he dropped out of school to sell magazine subscriptions door to door. Worked as an iron worker, making $9 an hour. And up until joining the Contender crew in LA this summer, he was mowing lawns to provide for his family of 3. So this obviously a big opportunity at this stage of his career. McCrary in the white with green trim, Banks in the solid white.
Banks coming out a little bit more aggressive than is normal for him. Usually he likes to lay back, and you might still see this as the fight starts to calm down, but he likes to lay back and look for counters. In other words, he likes to take advantage of his opponent's aggression. Make him miss, make him pay a little bit. Right now, Banks trying to send a little bit of a message. Usually it'll be with his right hand.
Well, we saw him send a message to popular Contender alum Peter Manfredo back on June 20th when he was peppering Manfredo with right hands, and Manfredo had all he could take, a swollen eye, but escaped with a decision win on that night.
If there's one signature combination to look for with Mr. Banks, it's the left hand underneath and the right hand up top. You saw it right there.
Right hand tried to come over the top of McCrary's left. Comes in behind a double jab, does Banks.
Banks has lost his last 2. Both these men have lost when they've stepped up, but McCrary's, well, his steps have been higher. His steps up have been more significant.
Donny McCrary stepped up and had a near shock the world moment in April 2006. Was a short notice opponent against the unbeaten Allan Green. Green knocked him down in the 3rd round. McCrary got up, dropped Green, nearly TKO'd him. Green survived, came back and won by knockout, but it was almost one of the most stunning upsets that we've seen in years in the sport.
You know, this is a mental game. 75% of this is mental, and right here you see proof of it already early on. Banks, usually a counterpuncher coming out there aggressive, trying to send a little message. I think there's a reason for it. You know, he might be feeling a little extra confident right now after Elvin Ayala just fought a draw with Sergio Mora, who was undefeated and, of course, was the Contender first season winner. Banks has 2 wins over Ayala, so when he saw Ayala fight that draw with Sergio Mora, that had to do really good things for his confidence, and at least in this first round, that confidence is showing.
Ayala was a very well-regarded, unbeaten prospect when Banks went up against him twice and came out the victor both times. So obviously, as Teddy detailed, a big confidence boost for David Banks. McCrary trying to chase him down as we come to the end of round number 1 on this Contender finale night. So glad you've joined us. Joe Tessitore ringside with Teddy Atlas, working our way towards the Contender finale tonight. Jadon Codrington against Saiko Bika. Codrington grew up in the projects. Bika grew up in Africa. They both have said to us winning $750,000 would be life-altering. What can each do to alter the other's chances of winning the money tonight, Teddy?
Well, first of all, with Codrington, he's the younger guy. He's the more explosive guy. He's the quicker guy. And he has more options. He can box a little bit, or he can come right out and he can bang some real good leather off the chin of Bika, who is available. He's right there. But Bika, what he can do is hope that the fight gets into those longer waters, those deeper waters, and use his experience, his endurance, and his physical strength. He's a strong physical guy, not nearly as fast as Codrington, but a guy in the late waters or in the deep waters. He can start to even things out a little bit with that experience and that steady mindset that Bika has.
That is still to come your way. Codrington, Bika for $750,000. This is round number 2 between David Banks and the rugged, tough journeyman from the Midwest, Donny McCrary. McCrary with that green band on top of those white trunks. He had his opening fight of Contender Season 3, did McCrary, back on August 15th. Lost a 5-round unanimous decision to Saiko Bika. As for David Banks, he lost a split decision to Paul Smith, the Englishman who was part of Contender Season 3. That was by far the most competitive of all the Contender fights so far. Really one of those fights that could have gone either way. Banks was very upset by the outcome, but he was rocked and staggered by Smith in both the 3rd and 4th round, and then made a rally after that.
Both these fighters are back with their regular trainers, not the trainers that are assigned to them during the Contender series. And both these fighters are coming in lighter than their last fights. Banks 4 pounds less, and McCrary 5 pounds less than his last fight.
There's an example of Banks wants a counterpunch, trying to come with the right hand after McCrary threw out the left jab.
Again, you know the confidence, because if you know Banks and you know his fighting style, you know that he's feeling a little perked up early on here, because he's not laying back as much, although he's slowing down from the 1st round. And again, after those 2 wins against Ayala, and then he sees Ayala go out there, fight a draw with the undefeated Mora, he has to say to himself, hey, that win, those 2 wins, they mean maybe more than I understood they meant at the time.
I'm not sure he didn't get a little boost of confidence also from that night we broadcast his fight against Peter Manfredo.
Yeah, he was stepping up in class and had a good night.
Well, you looked at Manfredo after that fight, and it's one of those fights you say, well, who won the fight? To see Manfredo's fight after
Came up short, but showed that with a little experience, he can move up to that next echelon of fighter.
Manfredo, of course, perhaps the most popular fighter to come out of this Contender series from right here in New England, and he's going to have a big fight coming up against Jeff Lacey.
Now, right now, you can see McCrary trying to fight a physical fight. But if he wants to do that, he better not get tied up in the inside. He better let those hands go.
Banks, McCrary, end of 2.
All right.
Action from the last round, action that belonged to Banks. Watch this straight right hand, a missed left hook from McCrary, and a nice straight right hand counter from Banks.
Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas with you ringside. Round number 3 scheduled for 6. Our opening bout on this Contender finale. David Banks in the all-white trunks in that last round was 21 of 69 on his total punches. McCrary also landed 21 punches.
So, do you believe in omens?
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's a good one or a bad one, but Banks, about 2 hours ago, he got into his locker room and he found out and realized that he had left his mouthpieces back in the hotel. Now, he had enough time to send somebody back to the hotel and get him the mouthpiece. Right now, it doesn't look like that little bit of possible, nervous information has really bothered him. I'm sure his dentist is feeling just a lot relieved that he has found the mouthpieces. And so far, so good for Banks.
Yeah, sometimes those little tests of your gut before a pressure moment can actually help you settle down. Maybe
true.
that was the case with David Banks.
And again,
good exchange on the inside that time.
Well, again, it's the right hand that Banks is always looking to cash in on. And right now, McCrary making it available to Banks by just walking in.
Right. All right, let him out.
McCrary can box a little bit. He's not going to make anyone forget about Muhammad Ali, but he can navigate around the ring when he has to a bit. But for the most part, McCrary is just your blue-collar type guy. He likes to come forward and put his hands on you.
Two-punch combination that time by McCrary.
Well, now you see Banks going back to what we've come to expect of Banks. Laying back, and he's looking to play the counter game. If this was a basketball game, McCrary's taking the shots. And Banks, well, he looks to score his offense off the rebounds.
Banks back out to the center of the ring as they come to the end of the third round.
All right, don't hit him. Okay.
Big crowd has come out to the TD Bank North Garden here in downtown Boston, working our way towards the showdown at the end of this Contender Season 3 between Jadon Codrington and Saiko Bika. This is round number 4 between David Banks and Donny McCrary. Banks in the all-white trunks in that third round had 32 connects, high total so far in the fight for him, and a very high percentage. It was 32 of 67 thrown.
Now it's starting to become a little bit of a contest of McCrary style versus Banks styles. And what are those two styles? McCrary leading, getting off first, and Banks, again, looking to take advantage of that leading with countering.
Right, guy, let him out.
Banks very comfortable in that role. Teddy Atlas's scorecard through 3 rounds. As Banks up 3 rounds to zip.
Right.
You know, Joe, you can almost see the wheels turning in the head of McCrary. He's starting to think maybe a little bit more pressure. It's been tough so far, but a little more pressure, maybe I start to break down Banks a little bit.
There's a good flush right hand from David Banks, and then a left hand scored as well. And now another right hand comes in, and McCrary gets backed up into the corner.
Again, the bread and butter for Banks. Right hand. And again, off the counter. Banks doing a good job.
Good uppercut by McCrary in between punches.
Well, where Banks does a good job is on the outside, because on the outside, that's where he is at his strength. Because that's where he can have room to make McCrary miss, and then, of course, pay. Inside, he doesn't have that room, Joe, and McCrary can use his physicality. On the outside, Banks just loves to take advantage of the aggression of McCrary. If there's a little room, he figures he can make McCrary miss a little and then have a little hole to fill.
McCrary making a mild rally here in this final minute of the 4th round.
Well, I think McCrary is starting to understand now, when there's room, a counterpuncher flourishes. When there's no room, he doesn't.
Right, guy, don't hit him. Don't hit him, let him up.
Has to smother that fire. Good action here in round number 4. Everybody is anticipating good action in our main event with the Contender title on the line and $750,000. We're going to get you set for it all night long, and Brian Kenny is standing by with the man who's going to set the strategy for Saiko Bika. BK. We have our own expert trainer with us here, Teddy Atlas, who's been analyzing the work of the right hand by David Banks.
Well, we said early on that's his forte, and one thing for sure is he has not made us a liar. Now on the inside, McCrary, again, he was able to score with a good right uppercut there. Inside is where he's safer. Outside, when there's room, Banks makes him miss, makes him pay. McCrary, 2 rounds left to get in close and start working that uppercut.
Just a 6-round fight. So time is of the essence for these two. Both men lost in the opening round of Contender Season 3. For David Banks, he walked away with a very bad taste in his mouth. It was a razor-thin split decision loss to Paul Smith. He wants to go out with a bang here.
What's not razor-thin is those right hands that are banging off the side of the head of McCrary.
Oh, they're flush.
And it's when there's room, when there's a little bit of room, a little space. Well, that's all Banks needs. McCrary makes a mistake, and so far, Banks has made him pay with the right hand.
Banks opened up, scored with a 3-punch combination. McCrary fired back. He is not shy. Tough, rugged Midwest journeyman who's been ultra-aggressive throughout his career. He will meet his combatant punch for punch. The problem is he's absorbing more. You saw the headshot numbers there on our punch track numbers. Banks has landed 108 headshots at this point in the fight. McCrary, 90.
Break. All right, I got it.
And what the early good start has done for Banks, it has given him now a little bit of respect for McCrary, where McCrary not coming as fast as he probably envisioned that he would come at this point in the fight. But Banks, those solid shots have taken a toll on McCrary, mentally and physically. Mentally, they're making him a little weary, Joe.
Let him out.
He's worried about just coming in because he gets counted. And physically, well, physically he is feeling some of the punishment that he's taken.
Banks waiting on McCrary.
You could see it again. You could see McCrary being a little bit tentative because of what Banks has done early.
And he landed another counter right hand.
If Banks was an investor, well, right now he's seeing some of that investment pay off from his early CDs that he put in.
They will have 1 round to go. Let's check in with BK again.
All right, Brian Kenny back up here. Let's try it once again with Pepe Correa. He is training Saiko Bika for the main event tonight. Pepe, apologize for that. Didn't get to hear your answer. Again, Bika's strong, but as Teddy Atlas mentioned, Codrington is explosive. So how does Saiko handle that tonight?
Well, I'm hoping we do the old Joe Louis thing. And Joe Louis said if you kill the body, the head will die. We're going to work in behind a decent jab. And trust me, if Bika gets inside close and bang to the body like he's supposed to, we're going to slow those fast hands down. You know,
Bika's people have said that when he's at his best, very few people in the world can handle him. And we've seen him against the world's best, including at super middleweight. Do you think Saiko is at his best today?
I certainly hope so. We've trained for that. We've gone to the Sugar Ray Training Center in Palmer Park, and we've gotten him ready. And I hope his people are right, and I'm banking that he'll do the right things tonight.
All right, Pepe, best of luck. Good talking with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pepe Correa again getting ready with Saiko Bika in the main event, taking on Jadon Codrington. 1 more round to go here. Joe Tessitore, take it away.
Thanks, Brian. Jadon Codrington, Saiko Bika coming up a little later for $750,000. This is the 6th and final round of our opening bout on this Contender finale, and it's been a good one. David Banks against Donny McCrary. I'm Joe Tessitore alongside Teddy Atlas. Brian Kenny hosting our event here in Boston. McCrary now. Trying to make something happen here in these opening moments of round 6. He has been peppered by counter right hands throughout. Teddy Atlas's scorecard. All Banks so far, with the exception of an even 4th round, 50-46. So according to Teddy, this is urgent time and the need for McCrary to turn it on and get rid of Banks.
And McCrary behaving the way that you would expect a guy to behave when it is urgent time. He's getting busy, and most importantly, as we talked about early on, he's getting close. And when he's close, he takes away the best asset of Banks. The asset to have space and to be able to counter.
All right, I got it. And I'm out.
Again, you have to pardon the pun here, but I can't help it. It looks to me like Banks went out there with the fight plan, Joe, to kind of set up a long-term investment, a CD, as I mentioned earlier, and that was in a form of right hands, not dollar bills, and it's paying off for him now. You can see the interest is starting to come through for Banks, because again, McCrary has had a lot taken out of him, and it's hard for him to make the run that he wants to make in this last round because of those right hands he ate early on.
All right, don't hit.
See if he can give one more go of it. There's some swelling now that's developed around the right eye of Donny McCrary. Every so often, Banks has been able to put the left hook behind those counter right hands, and he's done it effectively, landing on that target of McCrary. Final 30 seconds. Let's see what Donny McCrary has left in him.
And whatever's left in him, it's going to have to be brought in close quarters. When there's space, it's Banks.
There's the clap. They're going to let him go. Separates with a wide right hand. Bell comes in, and that does it. 6 rounds in the books between Banks and McCrary. They gave all they had. Banks seemed to have a little more throughout. We will come back and hear from the judges after this. More to come. The Contender finale has come to Red Sox Nation. We are in Boston, Massachusetts at the TD Bank North Garden, where maybe another world championship will be coming this way. Based on those men sitting ringside, the Patriots have come out to see the Contender, Richard Seymour, Matt Light. They are working their way towards Jadon Codrington, Saiko Bika, the anticipation building. They opened up with a good one. David Banks, Donny McCrary, the total punches, even numbers. Banks tailed off a little bit as the fight went on. McCrary rallied in the last round, but Banks effective with the counter punching. And as you see on Teddy Atlas's scorecard, it earns him 59-56. The question is, how do the ringside judges see it? And for that answer, we send it up to the ring to Jeff Connor.
Ladies and gentlemen, the judges' scorecards are in this Contender arena. Judge Roland Milton scores the bout 57-57 even. Judges Paul Driscoll and Leo Gerstel see the bout 58-56. For the winner by majority decision from Portland, Oregon, David Banks.
Yeah, born in Ohio, raised in Vegas, now from Portland, but he does well when he comes to the East Coast. David Banks wins a majority decision, that after that split decision he lost to Paul Smith in the Contender, so that has to make him feel real good, the 15th win